Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, what's up? What's going on with everybody out there? Let's get into the content. Now, we got another guy, man. Mm, mm, mm. This is a hustle right here, right? Clearly, it's a hustle. You know, you see these black people who get on social media and they make content agreeing with white conservatives. And the crazy part about it is the white conservatives don't really like y'all either. They tolerate you guys because you agree with them and you co-sign their talking points. That's the only reason they deal with you. But please believe, those same white people don't want to live around you. Them same white folk, they don't want you in they don't want you in their community, buddy. It don't matter how much you agree with them. That's the crazy part about it. And a lot of these black conservatives go out of their way to prove to white conservatives that they're different from most black folks. You know, I'm gonna prove to you that I'm different. I'm gonna prove to you that I'm not ghetto. I'm gonna prove to you that I ain't this. And they spend most of their life proving like they got something to prove to white folks, you know. So they make it their mission to prove to white folks that they're different. They're not the typical black person, right? And it's the same playbook from all of these black conservatives, right? And don't get it twisted. I don't like Democrats either. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I don't like none of these people. I'm going to call it right down the middle. Right. So, you know, and then you got Anthony Brian Logan. He's another black conservative that blames everything on liberals. Then you got April Chapman. She blames everything on Democrats and liberals. And they'll sit up there and pretend like Republicans ain't racist. See, black conservatives their main goal is they want to prove to you that Democrats are racist, right? And they pretend like they don't see the same racism coming from Republicans or white conservatives. They ignore that. Like with the Charlie Kirk situation, they wanted everybody to believe that Tyler Robinson, that's the guy who unalived Charlie, they wanted everybody to believe that that guy was a liberal, that he was a Democrat, when in reality he comes from a Republican family, a MAGA family. But conservatives blame everything on liberals. They blame everything on Democrats. Let them tell it. Republicans are the best people on planet Earth, and we know that we know that's not true. It's not true. The Democrats are guilty. The Republicans are guilty. Right wing, left wing, both wings come from the same damn bird. So don't get it twisted. You a fool if you believe they're different. They might have slight differences when it comes to their beliefs, but ultimately their goal is to promote WS. You know what I mean? That's exactly what it is. That's their agenda. There's more than one way to slice a cat. And the end goal is to promote white, you already know, WS. That's the objective. Now, this guy right here, oh my God. And what's crazy is this, you see all these black conservatives defending white people. White people would never defend Jason Whitlock against other white people. White people would never defend Officer Tatum against other white people. They're not going to do it. I said the same thing about Ringo. It's like, Ringo, none of those MAGA people that you caping for, none of those people would defend you if a white person done something to you. They would say that you're guilty and a white person had the right to defend themselves, right? It's crazy. It is crazy. Crazy. Imagine you defending a group of people who would never defend you. I mean, these people would never defend you. Not in a million years. Them folks is not coming to defend you, man. So when you see that, it's like, damn, man, like, what's wrong with y'all? You don't see the bigger picture? Hit the like button if you haven't already, baby. The conservatives are fighting amongst themselves, right? Let's hear what this bootlicker had to say. Now, Steven Crowder had a conversation about black fatigue, right? And he went to a barbershop. I don't know what city it was in, but it was a barbershop full of black men. And he went up and basically what he said is white people are just fed up with blacks, right? Like, and the crazy part about it is white people pretend like they're not committing any crimes, like they're just the most holy people on planet Earth. Like they don't do anything, right? And the crazy part about it is we have white fatigue. White people shoot up churches. White people burn churches. White people will go to their job that fired them a month ago and shoot up the place. They'll let off 50 rounds and lay everybody down. People who had nothing to do with them getting fired, they're gonna lay everybody down. They're gonna pop off 50 rounds just because he got fired from his job. Now he wants to unalive all of his coworkers. Those are the type of crimes that white men commit. If somebody shoots up a church or burn a church down, you can best believe that 10 times out of 10, it is a white male. It is a white criminal. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. But it's mighty funny that white people never talk about white fatigue. Then you have black conservatives who will never hold white people accountable. They can't do it. They make a lot of money co-signing the talking points of these white Republicans and these white conservatives. So these black conservatives, they get up here and they parrot those talking points for financial gain.
Pulling up to a black barbershop, apparently talking about black fatigue. Hey, bro. But like Crowder is out here on a rampage since they took that boy Kirk out, man.
Listen, the reality of it is this, man. All races commit crimes, right? I don't look past the stuff that black people do. You know, I make content about the stuff that our people do all the time. And if I disagree with it, I'll give my thoughts on it. So I don't hold punches, man. If it's some things that we need to do better, then I'll speak on it. You can look at my catalog and you can see I hold black people accountable. Shit, you got a lot of FBA people who don't even rock with the channel no more because they don't like the fact that I hold black people accountable, mainly black women. See, they can tolerate me holding black men accountable for their degenerate behavior, but a lot of people in the FBA community, they get mad when I hold women accountable. Right? So every group has their flaws, homie. The flaws I see in the FBA community, they don't want you criticizing black women. As long as you're criticizing black men, immigrants, tethers, and white supremacists, then, you know, that community will support you all day. But the moment that you give these women some pushback about their behavior, the FBA community gonna get pissed off with you. The majority of them. I mean, some of them are gonna say, yeah, it's true, but the majority of them, they're gonna get pissed off with that. They don't want to hear that. You know, it's like an unspoken rule that you don't hold black women accountable. Right? It's kind of like if you are black conservative, the rule is you can't hold white conservatives accountable. You can talk about liberals to a certain extent, but you better not hold Republicans accountable. You better not hold white conservatives accountable. If you are black conservative, you can't hold white conservatives and white Republicans accountable. It's an unspoken rule. right? Hit the like button, man, and support the show. You already know. Hell nah. You better not hold that white man accountable. If you a black conservative, you better not hold that white man accountable. Hell nah. And if you do talk about a white person, it better be a liberal. It better be a liberal if you're going to talk about a white person as a black conservative. Black conservatives are puppets who are being controlled by the puppet master. Black conservatives can't afford to hold white people accountable. They can't do it.
And so we definitely got to tap in and see what this is about. Okay, let's get it.
Everybody's from different places, different backgrounds. Some of us from certain backgrounds know, like, running your mouth too much in a certain space can get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
Like, you free to say what you want, you're just not free from the consequences. Like, the consequences that come with you saying the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person.
Yeah.
And that's where we all have responsibilities in what we say and when we say it.
Yeah. The problem, though, too, and that's, I was kind of talking more domestically. The problem with that idea is a lot of people are offended by different things. Mm-hmm. And so people get their ass whooped for something they didn't say, right? That's the real thing. I don't know if you guys were following the stabbing there on that train in Charlotte, Irina Zarutska. Last time I was asking where you guys thought we were, you know, as far as in the country relation. Like, have you guys heard of the term black fatigue? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys know what that means?
Since the last time you came, that's become a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's just become a recent thing.
And do you know what it means?
White people don't listen, man. White people got a lot of nerves telling everybody what they're tired of, right? Nobody has committed more violence against other races in this country than white folks. No other race has. So they're the last people who need to be pointing their fingers talking about somebody's violent behavior. The nerve of these people. If you study the history of this country, white people got a lot of nerves pointing their finger at somebody about violence. They're the last people who need to be pointing their damn finger. Take a long look in the mirror, buddy. Study the history of this country. Nobody has violated other races of people more than white folks have in this country. Nobody has.
I'm not sure.
It's a term that's being used by people in the white community, by and large, again, saying they feel like they've been victimized and they're tired of taking that shit. You know, that was a girl who was dying alone in public. And that was a guy who was let out 14 times, including violent crimes in the name of racial justice, right? He didn't have to post bail. He didn't have to appear back in court. This is not the first time he's assaulted someone.
How do we know that was in the interest of racial justice as opposed to just being
because the judge said it.
A fucked up attempt at justice, period.
Yeah.
Like, the legal system has its flaws.
Yeah.
And people have been making complaints about that for decades, right? But that's just, to me, that's a mental health thing more than it's a black and white thing.
Well, I'll tell you why, because white people are saying it now.
Right.
Not just white people are saying, hey, we're in
what makes it a bigger thing.
Well, because, you know, white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to show.
That's a lie, man. White people are 12 times more likely to be unalived by a black person versus a black person being unalived by a white person. Man, these stats are manipulated. They're false. Black people spend way too much time harming each other. Most people in the audience right now don't know a black person who's harmed a white person. I bet 90% of you guys don't know one black person who has harmed a white person before. This is nonsense. You can go to any major city across the country and a lot of small towns. 90% of black people you know has never harmed a white person because most of them don't live around white people. And if they do live around white people, they are not bothering white people. They're telling lies. They're gaslighting you with these fake ass stats. Black people spend too much time harming one another. They're not even thinking about white folks like that.
It's right. It's even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Where? Like, not in
the United States. I mean, we're not talking about Ghana.
And like,
yeah.
What I'm saying.
Watch this. We're not talking about Ghana. We're not talking about Africa. We're talking about the United States of America. You see how he tried to be sarcastic? We're not talking about Africa, Ghana. Black folks ain't thinking about white people like that, man. See, in one breath, people love to say, black folks, all y'all do is harm each other. But when white people want to prove a point, then they'll make it seem like black folks are just going out of their way to harm white people when we know that's not true. So you got to pick a side. You can't say that all black people do is harm each other, and then on the flip side, say, well, you keep attacking white folks. Well, hold on. You said we only attack one another. If we only attack one another, when do we have the time to attack white folks like that? Does it happen? I'm sure you have situations where white people have unallied blacks. But of course, they don't have a problem with that. See, people like Steven Crowder, they don't have a problem when white people unalive black people because in the eyes of white people, it is justified. I bet money that Steven Crowder felt like George Zimmerman had the right to unalive Trayvon Martin. I bet money that Steven Crowder will tell you that Daniel Penny had the right to unalive that black man on the subway. The same thing with George Floyd. They're going to make an excuse for a white person. Anytime a white person harms a black person, they're going to justify it. That's how you know these people are racist. You can get down to the bottom of that. All you got to do is say, okay, what about this white cop that harmed this black person? If they make excuses for it and tell you it was justified, you know you're dealing with a white person who's racist. Because what did Charlie Kirk do? Every time a black person was harmed or unalived by a white person, Charlie Kirk justified it. Why? Because Charlie Kirk was a racist. There's no way you can fix your mouth to say that all these crimes were justified because a white man harmed a black person. In the eyes of Charlie Kirk and in the eyes of most of these white people, the white person, he was in the right. The homicide was justified. They're always going to justify a white person unaliving a black person. That tells you everything you need to know about their mentality, and it proves that they're nothing but racist. A white person ain't never guilty. They're always in the right.
Right. Not just white people saying, "Hey, we're in
makes it a bigger thing."
Well, because white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Where? Not in
the United States. I mean, we're not talking about Ghana. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, in white communities or in quote unquote so-called white communities?
Across the country, the rate is a black man or person, because most murders men, there are very few female murders, 12 times more likely to kill a white person the other way around. And then you look at the average amount of times that someone in this country is arrested before they're brought in for killing, charged with murder. Do you know how many times they're arrested on average before they murder? 11 times.
Once again, the justice system's got its flaws, and people have been complaining about that for years. We spend more time trying to fix that than trying to complain about the white versus black of it all.
Well, I think, just like I was trying to listen to all communities last time, I think this is something that's unavoidable. If this community, if enough white people get pissed off, they're going, look, we're living in New York now, we're getting killed in record numbers, or Detroit, a 12-time.
See, he's trying to paint white people as victims. You know what we could have said to him? Stop pretending to be victims. We got to gaslight these people the same way that they gaslight us. You see how he's painting the picture like white people are just being victimized by blacks and we're just going out of our way to harm white people? You know what they would have said? Stephen, you need to stop pretending to be victims. Stop playing the victim card, Stephen. Because if black people mention all the stuff that white folks done to us, the first thing these white folks will say is, you got to stop pretending to be a victim. You guys need to be held accountable. If I was in that barbershop, I would have told Steve, stop pretending to be a victim. He's painting white folks as victims, as if they're just harmless, and black people are just victimizing them every chance they get. Like I said, I don't know black people who go out of their way to harm white people. Most black people I know has never harmed a white person. And I'm pretty sure you guys in the comments could say the same thing. You know, stop saying that blacks only harm one another, but when white people want to come with these bogus talking points, they paint the picture as if blacks are just going out of their way to victimize innocent white folks. But not one time, listen, but not once in this conversation did he mention any white person that's harmed a black person. Why? Because in his mind, it was justified, so he'll never bring that up. Make sure that you guys bless the like button. This is crazy.
The rate. And our system, 3 strikes in California, right? That was a 3-strike policy. The reason that was changed, it said it was racist. Crime went down in black communities 30%. But now people are looking at their cities going, this is a hellscape, and the murders skyrocketed because people said in the name of racial justice, like three felonies, you're out.
Because crime is crime, right? But crime is usually going to be higher concentrated in areas where there's high poverty. So typically the areas that's high poverty in this country are areas with people with this color skin. So that's why you're going to have that. That's why I said those numbers could be skewed and made to manipulate to look like, oh, yeah, that's why I said in
9 to 12 times the rate.
You know how many black people have died in sundown towns at the hands of racist white people? How come you see these guys are not saying the right things? They're allowing him to come in. They're allowing him to come in there with that nonsense. And he's not talking about none of the violent crimes that's been committed by white men. He's not talking about how black people get attacked in sundown towns. He's not talking about those twins in Georgia who got unalived by that white supremacist. He's not talking about the police officers in Mississippi, how they were victimizing and attacking black people. He's not going to talk about the Los Angeles Police Department, how you have a racist gang. You got a white racist gang in the LAPD called the Executioners, where they go to black communities and they victimize black folks on purpose. And these are racist white men with police badges. But he's not going to talk about that, right? Because he came to this show for the sole purpose to make white people look like they are victims. And he also wants to paint the picture like blacks are just violent and they're just attacking white people for no reason. He ain't going to mention nothing. He's not going to say nothing about white folks and what they're doing. And none of these black dudes in the barbershop challenged him on that. He ain't talking about the mass shooters. He ain't talking about the fact that white men tried to assassinate Donald Trump. He's not talking about the fact that a white man unalived Charlie Kirk. He's not talking about these racist police officers. He's not talking about these white men who are in the police force and they join these white supremacist gangs. He's not talking about anything that has to do with white people committing crimes in this country.
In suburban neighborhoods, white people are not in danger. And that's what this kind of fear mongering tells them is you're in danger because you're 12 times more likely to get killed by a black person. You live in ain't nobody coming after you. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody tripping on you. But these people are just as scared as the other folks.
They are if they get on a bus.
Not necessarily.
They are if they get on a train.
That lady wasn't in danger because that man was black. That lady was in danger because that man was crazy.
Nope.
That man was mentally insane.
But why was he back on
family members? He had his own family members call the hospital to try to get him committed. He told his sister he killed that woman because he thought she was trying to read his mind.
Yep. Why was he let out, though? And I'm not saying it's because he's black. Yeah, I'm saying people look at it, though. The judge said
part of black fatigue.
He's insane, right? We agree.
That's not a black and white issue.
He was deemed not fit to stand trial, right?
Right.
Now,
should have been institutionalized.
Right. The IOU policy, meaning you don't have to pay bail. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to stay here until you're actually convicted. You just say you'll come back.
Right, which is messed up.
Yeah, the judge, Teresa Stokes, black woman, said, well, this is about racial justice. We need to be softer on crime. So that's her reasoning. That's why he was out. And you can find dozens of examples.
That's her misguided reasoning.
And that's policy.
But that's systemic, though, right?
That's not representative of a whole.
It's not. It's not. No, and look, we always have to say not all. Right. Like, not all white people wear MAGA hats and are dumbass pieces of racist shit. But we have all been accused of racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia.
Brother is either not listening or doesn't understand what Stephen is saying. All Stephen is saying is that the reason why black has anything to do with this particular conversation is because of these racist legal policies that some judge allowed that led to this particular individual being free because he was black.
Come on, guys. We got to get the support up, man. There's no way that these Sambos should be getting way more viewers than us, especially those of us who hold it down for the people. There's no way that these Sambos should be getting more views or support than us. We got to find a way to uplift black people who stand on business because this dude is a clown. This dude is a clown. Black people don't make laws in this country. We don't make laws to oppress white people. We don't make laws to take opportunities away from white people. This dude is a clown. You know how many white people, listen, homie, there's countless white people who has done something to blacks and never got prosecuted for it, never served any prison time for it. Study the history. George Zimmerman was following Trayvon Martin and he was told not to. Trayvon was unarmed, George Zimmerman shot him, unalived him, and white people raised millions in George Zimmerman's defense. Why? Because in the eyes of white people, they're not wrong when they harm. In the eyes of white people, they're not wrong when they harm somebody black. Get the likes up, man. Ain't no way these Sambos should be getting way more views than people who stand on business. There's just no way. Now, we do understand that the machine promotes this, but at the same time, our people can do better at promoting our people who stand for something, because this is ridiculous that these Sambos can get up here and they get all these viewers and they're not talented. This dude ain't saying nothing that you ain't heard already. He's not talented. He's regurgitating talking points from white conservatives and MAGA people. He don't have an original thought. He's not talented. He's not witty. He don't have a personality. He's dry. He is dull.
That's why he was out. And you can find dozens of examples.
That's her misguided reasoning.
And that's policy.
But that's systemic, though, right?
That's not representative of a whole.
It's not. It's not. No. And look, we always have to say not all. Right. Like not all white people wear MAGA hats and are dumbass pieces of racist shit. But we have all been accused of racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia.
Brother is either not listening or doesn't understand what Stephen is saying. All Stephen is saying is that the reason why black has anything to do with this particular conversation is because of these racist legal policies that some judge allowed that led to this particular individual being free because he was black, right? But he's not hearing that. He just hears an attack on black people. Stephen's not attacking black people. He's attacking this system that has resulted into criminals that should not be walking the streets, but are because they are black. If his stats are true, right? And I don't know nothing about that particular city or whatever judge, I mean, but usually Crowder comes with the facts. But it's one of them cases where it wouldn't even matter. Stephen could have a platter of all the evidence and facts necessary to, justify his stance, but they're not trying to hear it because they're talking from a place of emotion.
They're talking from a place of emotion, but it's mighty funny. Steven Crowder, not once did you hear Steven hold white people accountable for anything, man. Like, white people have been shooting up churches, schools, restaurants, Catholic schools with children that's under 10 years old. I mean, come on, man. Y'all let this fool walk up in here and talk about black violence while ignoring the violence that comes from his own community. Your hero, listen, let me tell you something. Your hero, Charlie Kirk, he wasn't unalived by a black person. It was a white person who did it. The biggest threat to white people in this country is other white people. Let me say that for you people who are too slow, or maybe you're just living in denial. The biggest threat to whites in America is other white people. The biggest threat to a white man is another white man, not a black man. Black people ain't worried about white folks like that. Black people spend too much time attacking one another. They're not worried about white folks. The biggest threat to Charlie Kirk was another white man. The biggest threat to Donald Trump is another white man. Let's be real.
These other things that have nothing to do with what Stephen's talking about. They're talking past each other.
Well, what I'm saying is black fatigue is white people going, you know what? I know I'm not racist. And I know that we're dealing with record crime, and I know that I'm more at risk, and they have negative interactions, and they're constantly told that they're not allowed to voice their fucking opinion because they're white. And if those people get pissed off, like that's where we actually could end up with some kind of, I'm telling you, I see this brewing. I see people.
I'm going to do a live stream on that. I'm going to say the biggest threat to Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk is other white men, not black people. The biggest threat to JFK, rest in peace to JFK, the biggest threat to him was other white men.
Negative interactions.
Talking about these other things that have nothing to do with what Stephen's talking about. They're talking past each other.
Well, what I'm saying is black fatigue is white people going, you know what? I know I'm not racist. And I know that we're dealing with record crime, and I know that I'm more at risk, and they have negative interactions, and they're constantly told that they're not allowed to voice their fucking opinion because they're white. And if those people get pissed off, like that's where we actually could end up with some kind of, I'm telling you, I see this brewing. I see people who were milquetoast white suburban, who are becoming actually racist. Now, not all of them, but I've seen people actually become racist because they get mugged.
Okay, so he's justifying why a lot of whites have became racist. Okay, well, if you can use these situations to say this is why whites have became racist, well, as black people, we have all the right in the world to dislike white people, especially if we're judging it based on what you guys have done to us in this country. You see how he just justified, well, white people have a reason to be racist. You guys are doing this to them. Well, if we're going to use that same logic, Steve Crowder, black people have all the right in the world to feel a certain way about white people based on what you guys have done to us over the last few centuries in this country. Don't be a hypocrite. So white people got a reason to hate black people, but blacks ain't got a reason to dislike white people. This is why I tell you, homie, these conversations are pointless. Why? Because white people never hold their own people accountable for anything. If anybody has a reason to dislike white people, it is black folks. White people don't have a reason to hate us, but they do. And let's really destroy that argument. If you go back to the 1930s and the 1920s, there was no such thing as ghetto black culture. You didn't have gang culture in black communities in the 1920s. And guess what? White people hated you more back then. So when they make these excuses for being racist, it don't make sense. White people hated blacks in this country way before blacks did anything to them. So don't let them gaslight you and say, well, this is the reason why whites have became racist. You guys been racist, man. Go back to the early 1900s. Black people wasn't ghetto. Black people wasn't criminals. Black people went to church, took care of their families, and went to work every day. They wasn't bothering white people, and white people hated blacks more back then. So don't let them gaslight you by making these bullshit excuses for why white people have became racist in this country. They've been racist for centuries. They didn't just become racist. Trying to make it seem like they just woke up a few days ago and became racist because of black fatigue. They've been racist in this country. They didn't wake up a few days ago and say, you know what, I'm going to be racist towards blacks. They already felt that way, man.
Their store gets looted and nothing gets done. They're going, and if I say something, it's turned into a race. I'm telling you what, that's where it's coming from. At what point do we have a talk and go like, okay, let's reform justice, but we have to be honest as to why it was reformed in the first place. This guy, it's not even the only one. It's every 3 days someone's being offed.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's transfer that over to, you know, I mean, there's a lot of unsafe things in this world. Like getting mugged by a black person is not the paramount unsafe thing. There's school shootings, there's road rage, there's all of that shit.
Yep.
And the primary people that commit a lot of those are people who don't have this skin.
No.
So if switch it over, if black people say, well, we getting fed up and we tired of all these school shootings and all of these road rage and all that, who do we say something to? Who hears our voice?
And when does the white?
This is not going to go anywhere. This is going. Black folks are not here to listen at all because we're talking.
Black folks are not here to listen, and the blueprint for black conservatives is to agree with everything that white people say. Hold black folks accountable for everything, but hold white people accountable for nothing. It's the same playbook for all of these black conservatives. He's a bootlicker. And then they'll try to make it seem like, what's a bootlicker? Why do you guys call us names? So it's okay for you guys to call people ignorant. It's okay for you guys to call people names. But when we call you a Sambo or a bootlicker, listen, homie, your actions match the words that we, your actions match the labels that we throw on you, right? Your behavior tells us that you're a Sambo. Your behavior tells us that you're a bootlicker. We're not just calling you a bootlicker because we feel like it. Your behavior aligns with somebody who's a bootlicker. Your behavior aligns with someone who's a sellout, who's a Sambo. We're not using these words because we feel like it. Your character fits what we're saying. If the shoe fits, then you must wear it. Agree with everything that white folks say. It's the same playbook it's the same playbook for all of these black conservatives, for all of these black Republicans. Just agree with white people all day. Even when they say negative things about people who look like you, just agree with them.
On this particular topic, but now he wants to pull the goalpost to get white folks to take responsibility on.
Look at this dude, man. I don't see, man. Listen, bro. You know why a lot of people have given up on the black community? Because you got black people who still listen to fools like this. So he agrees with everything that Steven Crowder is saying. But Steven Crowder is not real enough to admit that the biggest threat to a white man is the other white man who tried to assassinate Donald Trump, a white man, who unalived Charlie Kirk, a white man, who burned down that white church in Michigan, a white man, who shot up that restaurant full of white people, a white man. So the biggest threat to whites in this country is other white folks. It ain't black people. Charlie Kirk came in that barbershop, not Charlie Kirk. Steven Crowder came in that barbershop trying to paint white folks as victims. If I was those black dudes, you know what I would have said? I'm like, stop pretending to be a victim, Steven. This is a victimhood mentality, Steven. You got to stop pretending to be a victim, Steven. That's exactly what I would have said to him. The same way that they gaslight us and say, stop pretending to be a victim, I would have gave Steven Crowder and white folks that same energy. Stop pretending to be victims.
A black person is not the paramount unsafe thing. There's school shootings, there's road rage, there's all of that shit.
Yep.
And the primary people that commit a lot of those are people who don't have this skin.
No.
So if switch it over, if black people say, well, we getting fed up and we tired of all these school shootings and all of these road rage and all that, who do we say something to? Who hears our voice?
And when does the white?
This is not going to go anywhere. This is going. Black folks are not here to listen at all because we're talking about this particular topic. But now he wants to pull the goalpost to get white folks to take responsibility on for things that they are guilty of, and that can be done. But we got to talk about this. We're at this particular juncture, the whole black fatigue situation. But now he's trying to pull it over to white fatigue. But just to entertain this conversation, let's go to chat. Right? How often do black men commit murder per capita?
See, now if you got to use the stats, man, you already know what the stats like. Who's programming these systems, right? You got to understand that these stats have been manipulated for a long time, bro. I deal with observable reality. I don't depend on Google. I don't depend on the white man stats. I deal with observable reality, homie. And we all know that most black people ain't going around attacking white folks. Can you guys agree with that? The majority of black people are not going around harming white people. That is a bold-faced lie. Charlie Kirk spent so much time talking about violence in the black community to the point to where he ignored the threat that was coming from his own people. That's how ignorant he was. If Charlie Kirk spent more time focusing on the people in his community who was a threat to him, maybe he would still be alive today. But instead of looking at the threat that was right in his face, he spent most of his time trying to demonize black folks. And you know what he said? To excuse that? I don't hate black people. I'm just holding them accountable. I know I talk about black crime and this about black folks every day. I don't hate blacks. I'm just holding them accountable. Words of Charlie Kirk. What do black conservatives say when you go in on them? Like, hey man, why you spend so much time talking about black people? Do you hate your own people? I don't hate my own people. I'm just holding blacks accountable. So black conservatives repeat and parrot the same talking points as racist white people who don't like them in the first place.
Compared to white men, because all it is white and black. You know, I'm sure Hispanics, Asians are there, but it's pretty much
the average black person is not even thinking about a white person. They're spending most of their time battling other white people. I mean, battling other black people. Black people don't wake up every day and say, you know, we just want to attack some white people. That's not, you don't see that happening. That's a bold-faced lie. Black people ain't going out of their way to harm white folks. Nobody with common sense is going to believe that. But white people believe everything that they people say. If a white person told another white man, black people have wings and they could fly, they would believe it. They're so gullible that they would actually believe that. If Charlie Kirk told white people that blacks have wings on their back and they could fly in the sky, white people are so gullible, they would believe Charlie if he said that. with no evidence to prove it, but they would believe it because why? Charlie said it.
From white, black, because white are the majority, so they're going to be responsible for a lot of murders. But blacks are only 13% of the population that are responsible for a lot of murders. So that's why I'm not even including the other races that attempt murder as well, because they're not even relevant in the conversation. How often do black men commit murder per capita compared to white men? And
hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's get some people to bless the super chat. Make sure that you guys bless the Cash App. Be a contributor and a supporter to this content. Listen, homie, we can't let these coons outshine us, bro. The reason why a lot of black people are becoming conservatives, the reason why a lot of black people have stepped over to that side to become conservatives, because they see the amount of support that they get and they see the numbers that they're going to get. So they'll switch up, they'll switch to that side because they're only thinking about financial gain. They're only thinking about themselves. They don't care about this rhetoric being harmless to black folks in general. As long as they can gain financially for parroting these talking points, they'll do it. So that's why you got a lot of black people who switched over to that side. You know, they'll become black conservatives and they'll parrot the talking points of these racist white folks. And they do this to get paid. They do this to make a living on social media. He's one of many. This dude right here is one of many black conservatives who has switched to that other side.
America. And how many of these murders take place a year on average? So according to CDC, in 2023, there were 22,830 homicide deaths in the U.S. That works out to about 6.8 per 100,000 people. In FBI 2019, the murder rate was 5 per 100,000. More detailed analysis for 2019, the U.S. saw about 367,827 homicides in a total over that span. So a ballpark average around 20 to 25 murders.
Make sure that y'all get the likes up, man. We got to get this. We got to get this show in the algorithm. Make sure that you guys bless that like button, support the channel, man. You know, now he's going to bring up stats. Stats by who? Where did you get these stats from? What is your source? The government? The FBI?
Of these murders take place a year on average. So according to CDC, in 2023, there were 22,830 homicide deaths in the U.S. That works out to about 6.8 per 100,000 people. In FBI 2019, the murder rate was 5 per 100,000. More detailed analysis for 2019, the U.S. saw about 367,827 homicides in a total over that span. So a ballpark average around 20 to 25 murders per year in recent years. Offender race and per capita by race. This is much harder to nail down precisely because data on the race of the offender are less reliable or are less reliably collected. There's missing data and there's difference between arrest charges and confirmed offenders. But here is what the data suggests. In 2019, for homicides in which the race of the offender was known, 55.9% of offenders were black or African American, 41.1% were white, and 3% were other races. Right, so just that alone, 13% of the population in 2019, granted 6 years ago, but responsible for 55.9% offenders. 41.1% were white. And what percentage of America is white? Percentage of America is white. I really should nail it down to white men and black men because it's gonna make the percentage even smaller. What percentage of America is white men? White men make up around about 30% of the population. What percentage of America is black men? 5.7 to 6.3. So 30% of America is white men, which account for 41% of the murders. 5.5% of America is black men, who account for 56% of the murders. It's crazy.
See, 1 minute, haven't you guys noticed that the numbers keep going up now? He's saying that black men are only 5% of the country, but we're committing 56% of the homicides. Man, I don't believe that, homie. Hispanics gang bang, and they do a lot of, they unalive a lot of people. Asians unalive people, whites unalive people. You're not going to convince me that 5% of the population in America, which is black men, that somehow that 5% of the population, we're committing 56% of the homicides. And that is a bold-faced lie. Man, give me some feedback in the comments. Do you guys believe that? Black men are 5% of the population in the overall country, but 5% of black men are committing. Well, we're only 5% of the total population in this country is black men, but we're committing 56% of all homicides.
Is black.
No. Oh man.
5.7 to 6.3. So 30% of America is white men, which account for 41% of the murders. 5.5% of America is black men, who account for 56% of the murders. It's crazy. So per capita, it's wild. So to convert that to per capita rates by race, one also needs the population of those racial groups. As of recent estimate, non-Hispanic blacks people make up 13.7% of the population. Non-Hispanic white people make up a larger share. Given that if black people commit more than half of the murders while being 13 or 14% of the population, that would mean that black offenders' murder rate equals 25.6 people per 100,000. White offender murder rate equals 4.14 per 100,000. This is 6 to 7 times more likely. But the percentages are going to be different because you have to focus on men, because men commit the most murders. So that's a lot, bro. 20 to 25,000 murders a year, right? How many people die from mass shootings a year? And the reason why I'm putting that, because this was Buddy's knee-jerk response to Crowder's assessment of the whole black fatigue conversation, right? So let's look at that. Using the gun violence definition, 4 or more people shot, regardless of fatality. 722 people died in such incidents in 2023.
If you believe that 5% of the population in the United States, which black men we're like maybe like 5 to 6% of the population here in the United States, but they want to convince everybody that somehow black men, who are only 6% of the overall population, we're committing 56% of all homicides. Oh, no.
Right. And not to minimize
no.
people dying, bro, but
No.
we're comparing hundreds. I even give you 1,000. I give you 1,000, right? Rounded way up. 1,000 people die in a given year compared to 20 to 25,000 people dying of homicide, right? Which black people are responsible for the majority, right? And we need to talk about it, bro. Like, we can't move the goalposts and talk about something else when we're talking about this. We can leave this. We can go to the mass shootings and hysteria and mental health and, you know, white men and everything else that they tend to be responsible for. But we need to address this major elephant in the room, and can't allow our emotions to blind us to what's going on, not even allow us to have a conversation about it, bro.
Well, when you spoke to like Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder, whatever his name is, if you ask them about all the black people who was unalived by white police officers, they're going to justify it every time. A white man is never guilty. He's always justified, right? You know what Steve Crowder said? Well, the judge said this. We already know how that works. The court system works against, the justice system works against blacks. It always has. Listen, the justice system has never really worked for blacks in this country. So you can't expect for a judge to be honest and fair. You know, they're not going to be fair all across the board. They're going to be biased when it comes to black people, and they're going to defend white people, especially when a white person harms somebody black. So you can't expect to get justice in America. If you don't believe me, study the history of this country, study the history of this justice system, and then you're going to say, damn, he's right. White people get acquitted all the time for harming black people because the prosecutors, the judges, the district attorney, they protect white people, especially when they harm blacks in this country. You don't believe me? Just study the history for yourself. America has always protected white folks when they harm black people. It's still going on today. White people raised millions for George Zimmerman when he unalived 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. Charlie Kirk said it was justified. Charlie Kirk said that Trayvon Martin was stalking and hunting George Zimmerman, when we all know that was a bold-faced lie. But what do we expect from them, homie? Can't really expect too much, especially when you understand the history of this country. Can't really expect too much from them.
Over problem.
And when does white fatigue kick in?
Well, we've been hearing about that's the point, right? We've been hearing about it all our lives, about white fatigue, about systemic discrimination. I'm Canadian, right?
Done. That's the problem.
It has been done.
Here.
That's why we've done systemic justice reform that has led to more crime, right? That's the reason for no three-strike policy. That's the reason for cashless bail. That's the reason for catch and release. The reason for it, in the wake of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd riots, Summer of Love, was we're going to reform crime, we're going to reform the justice system, and it's gotten worse everywhere it's been. And then when white people leave those neighborhoods, well, now it's white flight. If they come in, it's gentrification. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are pissed off, and they're not going to sit down and have this conversation and be real about it. And they're going, well, what happens when someone has to keep their mouth shut about everything?
Nobody tell you have to keep
That's
your
how they
mouth
feel.
shut.
That's how they feel.
I don't believe white people have to keep their mouth shut. I think white people don't speak up about a lot of the things that they do and they perpetuate that affects us negatively. That's the stuff that nobody wants to, that the issues aren't made about those things.
Well, he's right about that. White people will never speak on, they'll never speak about the things that they do to us, right? They won't even speak on the fact that the biggest threat to a white man is a white man. And if you don't believe me, who tried to assassinate Donald Trump? White man. Who unalived Charlie Kirk? A white man. Who's shooting up white churches with babies and women inside of it? It's white men that are doing that. Right? Who's shooting up Catholic schools with innocent children playing on the playground? White men are doing that. Steven Crowder is not going to hold white people accountable for anything. His whole conversation is about black fatigue while ignoring the violent crimes that white men commit. Steven Crowder is a hypocrite, but what do you really expect? Can't really expect too much.
And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are pissed off, and they're not going to sit down and have this conversation and be real about it. And they're going, well, what happens when someone has to keep their mouth shut about everything?
Nobody tell you have to keep
That's
your
how they
mouth
feel.
shut.
That's how they feel.
I don't believe white people have to keep their mouth shut. I think white people don't speak up about a lot of the things that they do and they perpetuate that affects us negatively. That's the stuff that nobody wants to, that the issues aren't made about those things. I really respect the platform that you have, because you do have open and honest conversations. And I have to say, I don't believe that those numbers about the black people murdering white people are correct. I don't believe those numbers are correct.
What if they are? What if I'm not lying to you?
If you're not, then I've been misled, and I've been
Bingo. Hit the nail on the head. Bingo. Ding, 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 ding.
Let's talk about the history of this country, because white people want to talk about black fatigue now, right? But let's study the history of this country. How many whites have unalived blacks in America compared to blacks who have unalived whites? The numbers are not even close. If you study the history of this country, it's not even close. White people have unalived way more blacks compared to the blacks who have unalived whites. If you don't believe me, study the history of this country. Nobody has been more violent in America than a white man. You can talk about these gangbangers who shoot up people on street corners. You can't even compare that to the amount of people that whites have unalived in this country. It's not even comparable. Let's talk about it, though.
But that's why there will never be a solution to this, bro. There will never be a solution to this, man, because we talk in circles. Stevens, he's there trying to get first acknowledgement of the issue. Everybody talk about the same thing.
No, he's not. What he's doing is he's pointing the finger at blacks while ignoring the stuff that people in his own community are doing. But of course, you're a black conservative, so it's your job to defend white people. So I understand why you're doing it. But don't get it twisted for 1 second. Steven Crowder came over there to point the fingers at blacks while ignoring the violent crimes that white men commit in this country. Their hero and savior, Charlie Kirk, was unalived by a white man. Their hero and savior, Donald Trump. It was white men tried to assassinate Donald. The biggest threat to a white man in America is another white man, not black people, not black men in particular.
And put our brains together to come up with a solution. But no, it's all right, well, that's your issue, then here's our issue. And it's just this. Back and forth. But he answered his own question. That is one of the biggest pieces of this whole problem is people being misled, being indoctrinated.
Well, you're indoctrinated, right? Because you'll never hold white people accountable for anything. You're parroting the talking points of white liberal. You're parroting the talking points of white conservatives and white Republicans. You can't hold white people accountable. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Let's be honest. You want to talk about these gangbangers? And listen, the average gangbanger is not a threat to a white person. Your average street thug in the black community is not really a threat to white people. Why? Because black people spend most of their time victimizing other black people. You can take the most violent thugs in Chicago. They're not a threat to white people. They're only a threat to black people. Every now and then you might hear about a crime where a black person done something to a white person, but that's the minority. You can take the hardest gangsters from Los Angeles, Chicago, New Orleans, St. Louis, Detroit, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. Those black thugs are not a threat to white people. They're only a threat to people who look like them in their own communities. Those are the facts, homies. These violent black gangbangers are not a threat to white people. They are not. They're not even thinking about white folks like that. The biggest threat to a white man is a white man. If you don't believe me, ask Charlie Kirk. You don't believe me, ask Donald J. Trump. Who tried to assassinate Donald J. Trump? It was white men.
Brainwashed, victimhood mindset, right? All the things that this particular sect of the black community hate to hear, right?
Isolated from realistic numbers. But I know in this country, from the time that we got here and until now, there's never been hordes of black people that just go out and maraud and menace white people. Interactions happen and things do occur. I'm not saying that they don't, but not by and large in number. We can't be this small a percentage of the overall
population. He's right. What he said is black people do attack whites sometime, but that's a minority. That's a small minority.
And still have the numbers that people try to perpetuate on to us. See, black people do more harm to other black people than we do to other white people.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know, so because
he's cooking himself, actually.
How was he cooking himself, you idiot? What he said is true. Black people harm each other way more than they harm white folks. You sound stupid. What the man said was true. White people harm white people more than they harm anybody else. When a white man is harmed, most of the time it's another white man who did it. When these white women get unalived by their husbands, it is a white man who did it 90% of the time. When somebody wants to assassinate Donald Trump, it's another white man that's doing it. Huh? Charlie Kirk, a white man did it. White men are the biggest threat to one another, but they want to get on camera and point the finger at black people. Stop pretending to be victims, because you guys are not victims.
Himself, actually, bro.
Interactions happen and do occur. I'm not saying that they don't, but not by and large in number. We can't be this small a percentage of the overall population and still have the numbers that people try to perpetuate on to us. See, black people do more harm to other black people than we do to other white people.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know, so
he's cooking himself, actually. Be cooking himself, actually, bro.
People were close. And we also have historical evidence of groups of white people attacking and chasing black people.
So it's
coming after.
So when people say
it's not happening now.
So I'm just saying,
and that's the point. Is we're at a precipice right now.
That's a part of the historical condition.
Well, sure, but someone today.
Hold on. I wasn't finished making my point. I wasn't finished making my point. You know, when like I said, black fatigue, that's the newest mantra that's been put out into society to make people think that, okay, they tired of black people. They tired of what you said, that we can't say anything about black people. We can't do. Well, when you hold all the power, when you hold all the economic.
Yeah, I gotta go to a productive conversation, bro, because that's mind numbing. That is the definition of victimhood, and he just don't.
The definition of victimhood, well, that's what Steven Crowder is doing. His whole purpose of coming to the barbershop was to paint white people as victims. You dummy. So it's okay for Steven Crowder to pretend to be victims. Well, it's okay for Steven Crowder to paint white people as victims. Because his whole purpose was to point the finger at black people and say, you guys are harming white folks. You guys are unaliving us in record-breaking numbers. You guys are victimizing us. How come you didn't tell Steven Crowder, hey, man, stop pretending to be a victim? This is a victimhood mindset. But instead of holding Steven Crowder accountable for preaching, for pretending like whites are just victims of black people, instead, you pointed the finger at black folks and you guys need to start pretending to be victims when Steven Crowder has painted white people as victims this whole conversation. People don't care about what makes sense. This is what I realize about social media. People don't care about what makes sense. They don't. Because if they cared about what makes sense, there's no way that anybody will listen to this fool right here.
No, it's brainwash. It's brain rot. You know what I mean? And nothing productive is going to come from that. I just want to hear somebody have like an honest response and not, be emotional about it and be offended about it and try to come up with a solution as opposed to pointing the fingers. What
if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is if we're trying to understand it, you said...
Yeah, what if your premise, because it is flawed, you're trying to be nice about it? You got to watch his words in a barbershop.
Hey, what if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is if we're trying to understand it, you said you have power in all those institutions.
Yes.
What if, for example, you have an entire generation of people, young white men, women, who if they apply to a college or apply to a job, they don't have a grant, there's no Pell Grant, there's no type of subsidy, there's no DEI initiative. As a matter of fact, they're likely to be passed over. They hold no institutional power. And when you say black people haven't done anything, when you think of this white person, a young white person, because I'm seeing some people become radicalized and it can become a problem. Yeah. And then they see billions of dollars and riots and damages all summer long, and then they go, why is this happening? Black Lives Matter, right? So they're going to make that connection. Now they have no institutional power.
And white people don't live in those communities that's being burned down. What about all the towns that black people, think about Black Wall Street, Elaine, Arkansas, Ocoee, Florida, Wilmington, North Carolina, Rosewood, Florida. You know what I mean? Oscarville, Georgia, that became Lake Lanier, where they just flooded the whole town, which was once a thriving black city. See, it's mighty funny that Steven Crowder ain't talking about none of these communities that got destroyed by white people. Black people ain't never burned down a whole community that white people owned, that white people lived in. Black Wall Street, these were communities where people lived. There were banks. There were other businesses there. There were schools. And white people burnt that community down to the ground, burnt it to ashes. But Steven Crowder came to this show to paint white people as victims. But this idiot right here, Mr. Knight, he flipped it and said that black people are speaking from a position of victimhood when Steven Crowder is speaking from a position of victimhood. His whole purpose of coming to that barbershop was to paint white folks as victims and black men the perpetrators. That's exactly what he did. Steven Crowder is speaking from a position of victimhood, not the black men in the barbershop.
But if they go to a neighborhood that's largely black, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them.
If we go to a sundown town, we're going to get the crap beat out of us, probably even hung with it, probably even strung up in a tree. Now, he said that white people go to a black community, they're going to get the crap kicked out of them. That's a bold-faced lie. You got white guys who come to black communities all the time with cameras, and they go to some of the most dangerous communities filming gang vlogs and hood vlogs, and nothing ever happens to those white guys. Let me show you how Steven Crowder is full of crap. I need you guys to get my likes up, man. Let's get some people to bless that cash out. I need some more people to bless that like button for this fire content. You got white guys who go to black communities with their cameras, filming gang members, filming documentaries, and those white men are never harmed. And these are some of the most dangerous communities in America. You see these white boys with these cameras who go to these black communities. They'll go speak to the Crips one day. They'll go speak to the Bloods the next day. They'll go speak to some GDs, some Vice Lords or whatever. These white men will go to the most dangerous neighborhoods in America and nothing ever happens to them. Why? Because blacks are too damn busy attacking and victimizing one another. They're not worried about that white man with the camera. They are not. They're not worried about that white man jogging down the street. They're not worried about that. Why don't you explain that, Steven Crowder, how all of these white men who shoot these vlogs and hood documentaries, they go to the most dangerous black communities and nothing ever happens to those white people? Never.
Problem. And then they see billions of dollars and riots and damages all summer long, and they go, why is this happening? Black Lives Matter, right? So they're going to make that connection. Now, they have no institutional power, but if they go into a neighborhood that's largely black, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. And they're being blamed for something that supposedly their racist forefather did that they have nothing to do with. You think we're ever going to have unity? This is the problem. Unity, if let's say your dad's a or your grandfather's a and you walk up and you slap his teenager, you now have made that person hate you for life. And that's what I'm seeing with not in my generation. Younger people are going, I had nothing to do with this shit. They came up during the riots. They've come up under DEI, and they're seeing
okay, he said he didn't have nothing to do with slavery. Okay, well, all these white people that you're saying, these white people that are harmed by blacks, none of those black men in the barbershop have harmed anybody white. These are black people who go to work and mind their business. So they can say the same thing, Stephen. You're talking about blacks who victimize whites. None of us have done it. None of us are guilty of that. None of those black men in the barbershop are just going around harming white people. So the same way you can say that you didn't have nothing to do with slavery, it's the same thing. They can say the same thing. They can say, hey, man, we ain't got nothing to do with white people being victimized. We didn't do it. So stop saying black people, but you get mad when we say white people when it comes to racism and hatred in this country. See, it's okay for him to generalize black people and say what black people are doing, but then when it comes to white people, he'll say, well, I never owned a slave. I'm not guilty of it. Why do you guys keep saying white people? Okay, why do you keep saying black people when the majority of black people are not going around harming white people? But yet and still you generalize black folks, but you don't want black folks to generalize you when it comes to racism. The hypocrisy.
12-time rate, skyrocketing crime, and any proposals they make not holding institutional power shut down as racist. Black Lives Matter, right? So they're going to make
Birds in the barbershop.
Hey, what if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is if we're trying to understand it, you said you have power in all those institutions. Yes. What if, for example, you have an entire generation of people, young white men, women, who if they apply to a college or apply to a job, they don't have a grant, there's no Pell Grant, there's no type of subsidy, there's no DEI initiative. As a matter of fact, they're likely to be passed over. They hold no institutional power. And when you say black people haven't done anything, when you think of this white person, a young white person, because I'm seeing some people become radicalized and it can become a problem. Yeah. And then they see billions of dollars and riots and damages all summer long, and then they go, why is this happening? Black Lives Matter, right? So they're going to make that connection. Now, they have no institutional power, but if they go into a neighborhood that's largely black, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. And they're being blamed for something that supposedly their racist forefather did that they have nothing to do with. You think we're ever...
And you're blaming black people for harming white people. You're blaming blacks for harming white people when the majority of blacks have never done anything to a white person a day in their life. But yet you generalize black people, but you don't want black people to generalize you and your people. Man, get out of here, you hypocrite. If you don't want black people generalizing white folks, stop generalizing black folks. Most black people have never harmed a white person. We ain't got nothing to do with it, buddy. We're not guilty of harming these innocent white people. The majority of black people are not. So if you don't want us generalizing you, stop generalizing us, you hypocrite. I don't want to hear none of this stuff.
You're gonna have this is the problem. Unity, if let's say your dad's a or your grandfather's a and you walk up and you slap his teenager, you now have made that person hate you for life. And that's what I'm seeing with.
So he said if we slap a white guy, we make that white person hate us for life. What about everything that whites have done to blacks? Don't we have the right to hate you for life? He just justified why a white boy that gets victimized by black people, he just justified why that white boy becomes racist. But if you study the history of this country, if we're using the same logic, then you can clearly understand why black people feel a certain way about white folks, because we're judging you based on what you did to us in this country. Just study the history. See, white people got a reason to feel a certain way about blacks, but black people, we don't have a right to feel a certain way about whites, even if we're judging whites by what they did to us throughout the history, even if we're judging white people based on what they did to us in this country. But yet and still, we don't have a right to feel a certain way. But if a white boy gets smacked around by a black person, Well, we understand why he became racist, why he became a racist. Now the white boy is justified for becoming a racist because a black person smacked him up one day. Now, white people enslaved black people, created Jim Crow laws, they lynched black people, they hung black people, but black folks don't have a right to feel a certain way about white folks, though. The hypocrisy.
Not even my generation. Younger people are going, I had nothing to do with this shit. They came up during the riots. They've come up under DEI, and they're seeing a 12-time murder rate, skyrocketing crime, and any proposals they make not holding institutional power shut down as racist.
Now,
I guarantee you this is going to go in one ear and out the other. One ear and out the other. They're not there to fix nothing. They're just there to complain.
Why was DEI even instituted in the first place?
I don't see how y'all listen to these cornballs like this. This dude is not talented. He's not real. He's parroting talking points from white conservatives and MAGA white people. So black people don't have a reason to feel a certain way about white folks. But Steven Crowder just justified why a lot of white people become racist and why they hate black people. He just justified it. And he gave an example that, well, if a white boy gets smacked around by a black person, he now has the right to be racist because he got slapped around. But black people being enslaved, oppressed, dealing with Jim Crow laws, white police officers, unarmed black people, but we don't have a reason to feel a certain way about white folks. But only white folks have a reason to feel a certain way about us. But black people don't have a right to feel any type of way about white folks, even if we're judging them by what they did to us in the history. Even if we're judging them based on what they did to us in this country, we still don't have a right to feel a certain way about white folks. But a white boy who gets slapped around, now all of a sudden he has the right to become a racist.
Because for the majority of time that black people have been in this country and been free, we've been denied so much. Somebody somewhere had to put some things in place to provide access of some kind.
If you believe that, that's fine, but you can't tell that young white kid who had nothing to do with it that he should just sit down and take it, especially when they're getting killed at 12 times the
That's what America's been telling us for the longest.
The young white man that has to
Not
deal
in my
with the
lifetime.
DEI, the young person of this generation that you said that feels they're misled by the being mistreated by the DEI.
I'm just using it as an example. They don't hold any institutional power. Young white people don't. They don't have an advantage.
Not yet, because they're young white people. They haven't advanced to where they're middle-aged white people, where the power comes. See, what black people, once again, when you got colleges that denied access to black people, you can't come here. Something had to be put in place. Well, look, y'all got to let some black people come in. Y'all can't just exclude
That started happening long before DEI. Long before black people were admitted into colleges, HBCUs.
White people don't want to be held accountable for what they did in this country. You know what they say? Well, my ancestors did it. I'm not for that. Well, we're not responsible for harming white people because the majority of black folks ain't going around harming white people. We had nothing to do with it. Don't try to hold us accountable for something that we're not doing, for something that we did not do. Stop it. These people are hypocrites. See, he wants to hold blacks accountable in general for these white people who's been victimized by black folks, even though the majority of us had nothing to do with it. But on the flip side, he's saying that he shouldn't be held accountable for something that his great grandfathers did. He don't want to be held accountable for the actions of his grandfathers. But let's fast forward today. Let's fast forward things to today. We still have racist white people today. We ain't got to go back to the 1950s, right? A white guy in Buffalo, New York, 2023, unalive 10 black people who ain't never did anything to him. He walked into a grocery store, unalive 10 innocent black people. Jacksonville, Florida, the same story. This happened in 2023. White guy walks into a grocery store, unalives innocent people, innocent black people, because that was a black community. The same thing in Buffalo, New York. That was a black community when that white guy went into the Tops grocery store and just unloaded the rifle and unalive innocent people. Dylan Roof in 2015 Dylan Roof in Charleston, South Carolina, walked into a black church and unalived 10 innocent black people, right? So we ain't got to go back to the 1940s to show you how racist white folks are still. We ain't got to go back to the 40s to prove that white folks are racist. We have examples that took place within the last year, the last 2 years, within the last 10 years. white people by large are still racist in this country. Racism is not dead. Clearly racism is still alive. You got Nazis marching in Kentucky, Nazis marching in Ohio, Nazis marching in Tennessee, white nationalist groups, the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang full of racist white men. You got all type of white supremacist gangs all across this country. But Steven Crowder wants you to believe that racism is dead, that white people today ain't racist. Man, that's bull crap.
Hold on, let me say what I'm trying to. My bad. I'm trying to make it clear.
He's trying to do a senior Wences and talk through you. So that,
Well, because you trying to.
No, I get it.
DEI is just a new way of wrapping affirmative action.
Yeah.
Affirmative action had to be put in place because there was the access being denied. So the legislation had to be put in place. Well, look, we can't just exclude all of them. So somewhere along the line, they have to be allowed some access. Okay, that was put in place. Now, fast forward till now, those same things that are put in place for those people back in those generations that are still in place, they're not excluding people from getting to places they're just still trying to keep those doors open so that those black.
Look at this fool. Look at his face. Like he's just disgusted with everything the black man is saying. I just proved to you that Steven Crowder is a hypocrite. He ain't disagree with one thing that the white boy said, but he disagrees with everything that these black men have said. Like these black men haven't made one valid point. And they made several points that were good, but of course he's not going to agree with somebody black. As a black conservative, your job is to agree with everything that white folks say, especially when it's something negative about black people. Not once does Steven Crowder hold white people accountable for anything. Steven Crowder walked into that barbershop and his main goal was to paint white people as victims. Steven Crowder is speaking from a position of victimhood, trying to paint the picture like blacks are just going around victimizing and harming innocent white people. And white people are just under attack and they're being victimized in this country. That's the narrative that Steven Crowder is pushing. That's the whole purpose of him going to that barbershop, to paint white people as victims in this country.
People that were coming through that door can still get in. Because if you remove those, over time, we will be denied the access.
If a black person has lower SATs, right, and lower GPA, should he get in over an Asian or a white person?
Let me ask.
If all things are supposed to be laid out.
This is a BS question, because we know that black people don't get jobs over white people and Asians. We know that. So that's a weak argument. Black people ain't taking jobs away from white folks. Black people ain't taking jobs away from Asian folks. So that is a bogus question within itself. It's bogus. It'd be one thing if black people were taking jobs away from white folks. That's not happening. Basically, what he's saying is black people who score less on these SAT, like if they get a low score on the SAT test, he's trying to paint the picture like those black people can still get jobs before a white person and before an Asian person. Because in his mind, whites and Asians got the highest IQs, right? So what he's saying is they're giving unqualified black people jobs over Asians and white people. The black person that's unqualified is getting a job before a white person, before an Asian person. And clearly that's a bold-faced lie. Black people ain't taking away jobs from Asians and white folks. Steven Crowder is full of crap. He's trying to paint the picture like black people with low IQs and low SAT scores are somehow taking jobs away from whites and Asians. That is a bold-faced lie. That is a false narrative.
Equal. No, you shouldn't get, if you don't have
That's happening.
That's what's
what
happening.
it takes to get in. No, but
It
is happening, and I'm telling you, young white dudes are pissed. I'm telling you.
The majority of what's happening.
It is happening. It is happening.
Relates to DEI. First of all, DEI has been more beneficial. I'm a former commercial contractor. All right. DEI and affirmative action have benefited white people vastly more so than black people. All you gotta do is look at the business ownership or what have you, and you notice that as long
He
as
never said that. You're projecting, fam. That's exactly what he's saying. Idiot. I can read between the lines. What he's saying is Charlie Kirk said the same thing. See, this is how I know you're not smart. You people are not as smart as you claim to be. That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. What he said is black people who are not intelligent, they're getting jobs before whites and Asians. Charlie Kirk said the same thing. He said blacks with low test scores, low SAT scores are somehow taking jobs away from white people. Steven Crowder just regurgitated the same talking point. He pretty much said black people who don't qualify for these jobs are getting these jobs before qualified whites, before qualified Asians. And that's the whole purpose of DEI. The DEI pretty much gave black people that were unqualified jobs over white people and Asians. That's exactly what he said. Are you stupid? Because if you have common sense, you will realize that's exactly what he was saying. That's exactly what he was hinting to. Gonna tell me I'm projecting like I ain't got enough common sense to read between the lines. I know exactly what I heard, fool. That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. He said black people who don't deserve these jobs are getting these jobs before white people. You got a peanut for a brain, man. Charlie Kirk said the same damn thing. Steven Crowder is repeating and regurgitating the same talking points of Charlie Kirk. He's not saying anything different. He's repeating the same thing that Charlie Kirk was saying. Once you heard one white liberal, once you've heard one of these white conservatives, you've heard them all. Once you've heard one black conservative, you didn't heard them all. They're all regurgitating and repeating and parroting the same talking points. That's exactly what Charlie Kirk was saying when he did that speech at that college. He said that black people only get jobs because of DEI. They're unqualified. White people are really qualified for the jobs, but qualified white people don't get the jobs, and unqualified black people end up with these jobs. That's what Charlie Kirk said. Steven Crowder just repeated the same talking points. I'm projecting. No, you sound stupid.
DEI has been more beneficial. I'm a former commercial contractor, all right? DEI and affirmative action have benefited.
I don't care about what Asians are doing. What I'm saying is black people are not taking jobs away from white folks and Asians. That is a bold-faced lie. That's not happening. Steven Crowder just repeated the same thing that Charlie Kirk said. Well, blacks who are unqualified are getting these jobs over whites and Asians. No, that's not true.
White people vastly more so than black people. All you gotta do is look at the business ownership or what have you, and you notice that as long as that white female happens to be 51%, then she qualifies as a minority and a double minority because she's white. She's among the minority in business ownership, and she happens to be a female, right? So you look at that based on population dynamics, and that automatically tells you this whole thing about DEI was, number one, not as much targeted towards blacks as much as it was targeted towards minorities, which includes that LGBT,
I agree.
right? So when we talk about that, we need to really deal with the real problem. And as it relates to the riots, let me tell you something right now. Listen, in the black community, I'll be the first to acknowledge, we do have intractable problems that are not going to be solved in one conversation. But what I'm going to say about that as well as the reason why the black community becomes so infuriated, all right, is when you see growth.
A lot of white women got jobs because of DEI. That's a fact, because they're white women. So white women benefited from a lot of that stuff, right? And this dude gonna tell me that I'm projecting. How am I projecting when I just told you, I gave you the facts? Steven Crowder repeated everything that Charlie Kirk said. He didn't say anything different. Steven Crowder don't even have it. Listen, I don't know who said it first, Charlie or Steven, but one thing I do know is they're repeating the same talking points. The only reason that blacks are getting jobs because of DEI. These blacks are not intelligent. They have low IQs, but somehow they're taking jobs away from qualified white people. That's exactly what he said. These black people who are not intelligent, these blacks with low IQs, are somehow taking jobs away from qualified white men. That's exactly what he said, fool. Anybody with common sense knows that's exactly what he said.
Negligence of justice happening or misjustice happening, and nobody does anything. When this guy kneeled on this man's neck, or going back to George Floyd, look, if he had done something when he was subdued and on the ground, what was the real reason for kneeling on his neck except to inflict fatal?
This ain't going nowhere, bro. This ain't
See,
going nowhere.
his job is to agree with everything that white people say and to disagree with everything that black people say. See, a black conservative, your job is pretty damn easy. You don't have to think. You don't have to come up with your own talking points. You don't have to come up with anything original. All you got to do is agree with everything that white folks say when there's something negative about black folks. All you got to do is agree with them. And anytime you see somebody black say something, you disagree with them. The blueprint for black conservatives was already laid. They agree with everything that white folks say about us. Everything. According to this dude, the black man in that barbershop didn't say anything that made sense. But at the same time, he agreed with everything that Steven Crowder said. Not once did he say, okay, that black man had a point. That's true. Not once did he say that. Every time Steven Crowder said something, he said these blacks are being emotional. They're not listening. The conversation is a waste of time because blacks are not listening to Steven Crowder, according to this bozo right here.
And this is the problem. Bro, I know. It's what, 30 minutes left on this conversation? Nothing. No resolutions, no common ground, nothing. It was Steven saying this. No, it ain't that. It's because of this. Back and forth.
Listen, man, dudes like this, right? We really need to get rid of people like this, right? He should never be allowed in the black community again. Not at a barbecue, not at a cookout. He should never be allowed back in the community, ever. He agreed with everything that Steven Crowder said, and he disagreed with everything that those black men said. We understand your position. You're a black conservative. You get paid to kiss the behinds of white people. You get paid to kiss their behind. We get it. So you're going to agree with everything that they say, even if it doesn't make sense.
And this is the same thing we're going to continue dealing with until shit gets smoked out. Until, I don't know, Skynet take over, until everybody just shut the fuck up. Ain't nobody white, black, nothing, bro. Y'all some batteries now. Or some civil war or some shit, bro. Nobody can be honest. Nobody can be honest. Steven is just providing facts, right? And giving an alternate perspective and trying to see what their response would be, how we should fix it, how should we proceed, how should we tackle this brewing monster. But we can't, because we got to continue talking about what happened in the past. We continue to do that. Talk about what happened in the past.
It's not the past, man. I just gave you 4 examples of what happened in recent years. We ain't got to talk about the 1940s, even though the 1940s is still relevant to what goes on today. So when we hold white people, basically what he's saying is white people today ain't racist. When we talk about white people, we're only talking about what they did 60 years ago. No, we're talking about what whites have done in recent years, you buffoon. You're just holding white people accountable for what they did 100 years ago. No, we're not. I'm talking about what they did within the last 20 years. Yes, I will hold them accountable for what they did 100 years ago, but I am holding them accountable for what they did in recent times, in recent history. You buffoon. That white boy in Buffalo, New York, walked into a grocery store and unalived 10 innocent black people. Show me a black man that's walked into a grocery store in a white neighborhood and unalived 10 innocent white people just because he felt like doing it. Show me the black man that's done that to white people. Show me the black man that's walked into a church full of white people and just unloaded and unalived several people. Show me the black man that's did that. You can't. But we can show you Dylan Roof in 2015 who walked into a church, underlined tendency in the black people. That white boy in Buffalo, New York, Tops grocery store, walked into a grocery store in the black community and unalived 10 black people, innocent black people who ain't never did anything to him. That white guy in Charleston, that white guy in Jacksonville, Florida, I think he unalived 4 black people, shot a few more black people. Dollar General in Jacksonville, Florida. This happened in 2023. The Buffalo incident happened in 2023. You got these twin brothers in Georgia was unalived by a white supremacist. This happened last year. This only happened last year. What are you talking about, fool?
400 years ago, 300 years ago, 100 years ago.
It wasn't 100 years ago, 300 years ago. We're talking about something that happened 2 years ago, fool. White men are still shooting up churches. They're shooting up grocery stores in black communities, but yet and still you have nothing to say about that. You guys are just blaming white folks for stuff they did 200 years ago. Man, shut your weak ass up, fool.
Trying to see what their response would be, how we should fix it, how should we proceed, how should we tackle this brewing monster, but we can't because we got to continue talking about what happened in the past. We continue to do that. Talk about what happened in the past, 400 years ago, 300 years ago, 100 years ago. We can never talk about now and try to come up with solutions to fix problems. A lot of times it's, well, this shit happened back in the day, so fuck y'all now. We had to deal with this shit, now y'all got to deal with this shit, bro. It's like it's a nuanced monster, bro, and you know, the main issue is the inability.
People like this will never hold whites accountable for anything. They won't hold whites accountable for anything. They won't. They'll never do it. Steven Crowder had a lot of holes in his argument. Listen, there was a lot of holes in Steven Crowder's argument. Not once did he disagree with anything that Steven Crowder said. And on the flip side, he disagreed with everything that those black men said. Basically, he did this reactionary video to agree with everything that Steven Crowder said. Let me agree with everything the white man says about black folks. That's exactly what this fool right here just did. He agreed with everything. I found a gang of holes in Steven Crowder's argument. There was holes all through his argument. He said, well, white people have a reason to feel this way about blacks because blacks did this. Okay, well, blacks have a reason to feel a certain way about whites based on the things that whites have done throughout the history and based on some of the things that whites have done to blacks in recent years. But according to Steven Crowder, whites have a reason to hate blacks, but blacks don't have a reason to feel no way about whites. What white people did to blacks in this country don't matter. That was 20 years ago. Well, we can talk about what happened within the last 20 years, and white people are still racist. By large, they are still racist. So if white people have a reason to hate us, for sure we have a reason to hate them.
For communication to be had between polar opposite perspectives. And this sect of the black community just looking through a lens of emotion and their inability to acknowledge reality. Or not even reality, just another opinion, other facts. I mean, got to oppose it. Bro literally said, I mean, Steven Crowder didn't have the facts, bro, but he gave him facts, and bro pretty much said, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You know what I mean? I may have been misled, but I don't care. I don't believe it. This is how I feel. As long as you lead with emotions and dictate everything based on how you feel.
This dude right here is not intelligent, and I'm not hating. I don't see why he's getting the view. Well, I know why he's getting the views he get. Let me take it back. He's agreeing with the white folks, even when they say complete garbage. That's how he's getting the views, right? See, this is the thing, bro. It's harder to get views defending black people than it is taking a crap on black people, right? Like, it's harder for me to get support even when I stand up for black people. It's easier for him to get support even when he agrees with nonsense that white folks say about blacks. He gets supported for that. He gets, like, people support him for agreeing with white people. As long as he's agreeing with white people when they say something negative about black people, he'll get a ton of support on this channel. Tons of support. See, this community right here, like dealing with the black community is hard, right? Because you can't criticize the women, you know, and they want you to agree with everything that women do. And see, when you make content for black people, you place yourself in a box because, for one, you're not going to gain a lot of support. You're going to get minimum support. YouTube ain't going to really push it through the algorithm. Black people ain't going to really support it like that. They might agree with you, but they're not really going to support it. So a lot of black people, unfortunately, have went to the other side. They said to themselves, I'll make more money agreeing with white people. And that's what a lot of these blacks have decided to do. That I'll just agree with white people and I'll get paid on YouTube. And a lot of blacks, unfortunately, a lot of blacks have made a career. They've made careers out of agreeing with white people. He's one of many of them. The Anthony Brian Logans of the world, he agrees with everything that white people say for the most part. Officer Tatum, Anton Daniels, Jason Whitlock, the conservative twins, you know, Ringo TV, Myron Gaines, and a long list of others. April Chapman. And there's a few other black conservative females that I got to add to this list as well. So they make a lot of money agreeing with white people when they say something negative about black folks. They make a lot of money doing that crap. So a lot of people say, well, hell, I'm not going to preach to the black community. They're not going to support me. I'll make more money saying disparaging things about them. So I'll just flip to the other side and just talk crazy about black folks to get a big paycheck on social media. And a lot of black people have made careers doing that. It's sad, but it's very true.
Ain't nothing gonna happen, dog. It's gonna get more hostile, more animosity. Steven out here doing this big one, bro. What's the solution? Right? What's the solution? How do we get to the bottom of it? That's what I would say in this a situation like this, man. We have this problem. How do we fix it? Without going back in the past and trying to say why certain things happened and what we had to deal with in the past, we have this problem right now in 2025, and things are only going to get worse. They're going to get much worse unless we do something about it. What do we do about it? What can we come together and agree on? Right, but
you agree with everything that white people say, but not once that you agree with anything that those black men say. And those brothers made a few points. They made a few good points. They said some things that were actually true, but you never agreed with anything they said. So when you fix your mouth, you said, when can we come to an understanding and agree on something? Well, you're not going to agree with anything that black people say. Your job is to agree with everything that white people say. So I don't want to hear nothing from you. You're biased. I see how you make your money on social media. You make your money by agreeing with everything that white people say. That's how you make your money.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And then,
all right, enough of this raccoon right here.
Facts. Back to the channel, guys. I am Carmen Jason.
Now, this is another one right here. This is a female. Make America Great. Man, these white people don't want you living around them. They're trying their best to convince white people that they're good old Negroes and they're not like the rest of the white folks. And somehow white people maybe white people would accept me if I just showed them that I'm different from the rest of the blacks. She's another Candace Owens. She's another April Chapman.
See, if you're new here, make sure you hit the like or the subscribe button. If you want to support the channel, hit the super thanks or the buy me a coffee link below. And make sure you guys be sure to drop a comment to keep us in the algorithm. Also, just so we can help spread this message even further. And you know,
you black people who walk around with these MAGA hats, you look stupid. You look crazy. White people don't want you living around them. I don't care how much you tap dance for them. I don't care how much you agree with them. White people use blacks like this for talking points, and they'll say, well, even blacks agree with me. I'm not racist. We have blacks that agree with me, and they use people like this. Make America greater. Make America greater. And you look stupid with that hat on.
love to hear what you guys have to say. Go ahead and get into it. All right, guys. So, we're going to start with what actually happened, not what's being chopped up for social media views. Here's the truth. An officer on school patrol spots a black woman and her child getting out of the car to walk her daughter to school. The problem is she leaves the car running in the middle of the road, blocking traffic right outside of Idea Charter School. Now, he approaches the woman as she's walking away from her car. Now, the woman, she is 39-year-old Erica McGriff. And I just want to give you guys a quick side note that this is a 39-year-old adult woman who is not going to comply or doesn't know how to comply. I just want you guys to keep that in mind, because this is the reason why the children don't comply. There's a reason why a lot of people out of the community don't comply, because, reminder, Black women are raising most of the children. Now, when an officer asks where she's going and requests her driver.
Listen, when you see a Black woman talking like this, you can tell by the way she's talking. She's an Oreo, bro. Well, you're calling me an Oreo because I'm speaking proper and I'm not using Ebonics? No, I can feel it. I can feel your spirit. You're not for Black people. You look crazy with that Make America Great hat on. Make America Great Again hat on. You look foolish with that hat on. White people laugh at Black folks when they see them with them MAGA hats on. They laugh at you. They'll use you because you're going to parrot their talking points. So, of course, they'll use you, but they don't respect you. They don't respect you. Not at all. You look foolish walking around with that MAGA hat on. You look crazy. White people are building community. Listen, white people don't want you living in their community. They don't care how much you agree with them on social media. They'll use you for talking points, but do they want you living in their community? Absolutely not. They don't want you over there. That's why they said we're building communities for whites only. And who cares? I don't want to live around them people. I don't need to be accepted by them. I don't need to live around them. I could care less. People like you want to fit in with white people. You want to prove to white people that you're different from the rest of Black people. So every day she's trying her best to prove to white people that she's worthy of being around them. Talking about bootlickers. When you got to prove to white people that you're worthy of being around them, you are a bootlicker. You are an ass kisser.
Driver's license, she immediately refuses. She claims she wasn't the driver, even though the car is literally sitting there running in the street and he just saw her get out of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that interaction. Take a listen.
Hey, where you going? I need your license. I need your license. That's your car. I just want to get out of the car. Okay. I will please. Listen, you can get a ticket or you can keep playing this game. You go to jail. I'm going to give you one chance. You create the drama. I don't want any drama. I want to go home and I just came to pick up my child. Okay. I just came to pick up my child. That's all. Please don't grab me. Please don't go on me. Don't grab me. Sir, let me go. You hurting my baby. No, I'm going back to my car. Let me.
Now, once again, this officer is just doing his job. He is not trying to harass her. He is enforcing the law. But instead of cooperating, Erica decides she's not going to listen. Police later confirmed what I already suspected. Her license was revoked, which explains the lie, because the truth always shows up even when you try to walk away from it. And that's just how things are sometimes. Now, from there, things escalated quickly. She gets verbally aggressive. She starts yelling, and then it turns physical.
Now, I have seen some Black people who's made their situation worse. It's like, listen, you might as well just comply. You know, you doing all this is going to make the situation worse. But I've seen white people do the same thing. And I've seen a lot of these white people get handled with kid gloves. I'm not saying that I agree with this woman. Yeah, you should have just said, hey, you know what? What's going on? What it is? Let me know. Now, I've seen a lot of Black people make situations worse when they refuse to comply. And it's like, hold on, this is a simple ticket or a simple misdemeanor. Just comply with the officer. You doing all this stuff is going to make it worse. So trust and believe. I hold Black people accountable when they do foolish things. It's not my job to listen. Let's continue.
She hits him, she bites him. And when the officer tries to restrain her, she resists again. Let's go ahead and take a look at that moment.
See, somebody I would have if I was there, I'm like, listen, man, just shut your mouth, man. Just let him take you in. If he's gonna take you in, he's gonna take you in. You'll be out of there in a few hours. But her anxiety kicked in, her emotions took over, and unfortunately, the situation gets worse. Now, do I agree with white people in a lot of things they do? No, but at the same time, there's a certain way that you got to conduct yourself with police officers, especially as a black person in this country. Who knows, man? Hit the like button. What's this chick name? I'm gonna show you her name because she's a female Sambo. Carmen Jace. Carmen JC. That's her name. Carmen JC. She's another black conservative who agrees with everything that white people do. She's another one.
Please, please, please. What's her number? What's her number? What's her number? 4707. Hey, are you hiding my arm? 707. You hiding me.
Now, that moment might look harsh out of context, and honestly, it looks harsh in context too. But what you just saw led up to it. The refusal.
Now, you can listen to this woman and you know that she's not for the people. Like, her spirit and her energy shows you that she's not for black people. She got a MAGA hat on. You can listen to the way that she talks, and it's not because she's using proper English. You can listen to her swagger. You can tell by her demeanor that she's not for black people. She's for white people. It's a dead giveaway. Now, what she'll try to say is, you guys don't like me because I speak with proper grammar. You don't like me because I speak proper English. No, it's not that you speak proper English. We could feel it in your spirit. I got enough discernment to know that you're a female Sambo. She'll make 100 excuses for white people, but she'll never take the side of a black person, even when that black person is right. The white person could be in the wrong 100%. She's going to defend white folks at all costs. Why you think she put that MAGA hat on?
The lie, the physical assault, at that point, it is not a conversation anymore. It is an arrest. And let's be clear, when he first came up to her, she knew she was wrong, okay? She knew her license was revoked, even if he didn't know that. And that's the problem in a lot of these situations. Like,
if your license is revoked, then, man, you're asking for problems. Like, if the police pull up on you and your license is revoked, you need to comply with the officers. Like, you really need to. Now, I'm just saying, man, listen, I'm going to be honest. I've seen black people who made situations worse when they got confronted by police officers. Yes, trust and believe, I've seen that. I have. But at the same time, anyway, man, let's move on.
You know you're bogus, okay? And instead of being accountable and saying, you know what, officer, you right, you double down. This is the problems we're seeing in the black community. She knew she was going to go to jail because she had a revoked license, and that is why she lied. This is the part that people online conveniently leave out. They'll show you the takedown, but skip the 5 minutes before that caused it. Because the full truth does not trend, outrage does. And to be clear, this wasn't about race or profiling. It was an officer enforcing the law and a woman who thought she didn't have to follow it.
Well, what she's going to say is, now white police officers pull up on her, this chick with this MAGA hat, she's going to be cooperative. She's going to kiss their behind. She's going to let those white people know that I'm MAGA. I agree with you guys. And she's going to comply 100%. She's not going to argue. She's not going to give any resistance. Right? And I'm not saying that you should give resistance. What I'm saying is she's never going to go against white people for any reason. She's not going to do it. So she'll never find herself in that situation because she's going to agree with everything that white people say. And she's going to go out of her way to let white people know that she's different from the rest of blacks in America. Why you think she's wearing that Make America Great Again hat? That's a prime example. She's wearing this hat to let white people know that she's different from most Negroes in this country. And she actually agrees with whites. That's why she put that hat on in the first place.
It enters the chat, it into chaos every single time. And the sad part is we're still not learning. We're not connecting how our behavior directly affects the outcome. A minor traffic infraction just turned into 3 felonies. Absolutely crazy. All right, so police obviously had to respond to all of this because, of course, Ben Crump already ran to social media with a half story. So let's start with what the police actually said. They held a press conference addressing what really happened that morning outside of Idea Charter School. And I want you guys to go ahead and take a listen to that. Take a listen.
As a result of her actions on Tuesday afternoon, Erica McGriff was arrested for battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting an officer with violence, and operating a motor vehicle while having a driver's license that is revoked as a habitual traffic offender, which is probably what led to her refusing to give some of those things over in the very beginning. These charges are all third-degree felonies, each punishable by up to 5 years in Florida State Prison. Additionally, McGriff was cited for multiple traffic violations. So what's today's takeaway?
Oh,
If you violently
look, the white man bombed on her, right? He did. Look, I'm gonna show you guys a video now. Her name is Erica McGriff. The white man bombed on her, bruh. Yeah, I got the video. I don't know if I should show the video because I don't know, man.
resist our officers, if you punch them, if you bite them, you will be arrested. If you crowd and harass our officers or any first responder after a verbal warning, you will be arrested. JSO will always hold accountable those who violate the law. But this entire episode reaches beyond even law violations. It speaks to the breakdown of civil society that some in our community not only quietly accept, but actively promote. So beyond breaking the law,
Me personally, I wouldn't deal with a woman who's a Democrat. I wouldn't deal with a woman who's a Republican. You know, I like independent thinkers. If you're a Democrat or a Republican, I don't want nothing to do with you because you're brainwashed. I don't like no woman who identifies with either one of those political parties. Those chicks are worthless and they don't serve a purpose. They don't. You know, Democrat, Republican, left wing, right wing, both of those wings come from the same bird. Don't trust neither party. They don't have your best interest in mind.
these adults committed these acts in front of vulnerable and impressionable school children. These adults modeled and normalized for school-age children not only breaking the law, but also lying to the police.
I don't trust no man who's a Republican or a Democrat either. Because if you're a Republican or a Democrat, left wing, right wing, both of those wings come from the same bird, fool. When will black people wake up and realize that none of these parties have any loyalty? None of these parties have loyalty to us. And why should they? They don't have to. They don't have to. But y'all gonna still vote for them anyway.
Violently resisting police, punching police officers, biting a police officer, and harassing a police officer, and encumbering a police officer.
Let's get somebody to sponsor today's show, man. We got 100-some people in here. We could get some of you guys to show some love and support on this show. You know what I mean? If you like the content, if you like black people to speak up and talk about what's real, y'all got to send in more support. Can't expect for black people to speak for black people when black people don't support the people who do speak for black people. So at that point, they're gonna feel like, well, why do I need to support the black community? Because if you don't support the people who speak for you, pretty soon you're not gonna have nobody speaking for black folks. They're not gonna see the benefit of speaking for black folks. And unfortunately, that's the reality today. A lot of black people don't see the benefit in taking up for black folks because black people don't really support like that. So they're going to say, you know what? Listen, that's why, listen, it ain't no coincidence that we got all these black conservatives caping for white people. That's no coincidence, bro. If they could make the same money uplifting the black people in the black community, they would speak for black people. But if they realize that they can't get the same support speaking for black people, and that's why they don't speak for black people, because they say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend all this time uplifting black people, and they're barely going to support what I'm doing. So when you look at all these black men and black women who are conservatives, who parrot the talking points of white conservatives, now you understand why they're doing it. This ain't no coincidence. You look around and you think that these black conservatives just came out of nowhere. No, they didn't. There's a reason for this. And I understand the reason for this. All of a sudden, you got all these black conservatives getting paid talking down on black folks. That's not a coincidence, man.
Officer Holton was simply doing his job.
Now, according to the press conference, not only was Erica McGriff arrested, but 2 other people was arrested for violating the new HALO law. Now, that law was passed in January of 2025, which means you cannot interfere with an officer or come within 25 feet during an active arrest. People actually got arrested for getting too close and refusing to back up. And that standard has to be set if we expect police to stay safe. We all act like this is a black and white issue, but there's a lot of gray in being a police officer. Their job is tremendously hard. Their safety has to come first, even when they're protecting the public. Because if an officer gets hurt or distracted in the middle of an arrest, everyone loses. Now, the police also say that Erica's own daughter, the same little girl she was walking to school that morning, later called and threatened the school. So now they're actively looking for her, which is quite telling. And it just shows you how the dysfunction just spreads. Now let's go ahead and take a listen to the police department and what they had to say about those threats.
All right, let's go here. Her job is to agree with everything that white people do.
Just hours from now, a Jacksonville woman will stand side
Yeah, this is the Jacksonville woman right here, man. Hit the like button, man, to support the show.
by side with a nationally known civil rights attorney in her first public appearance since her arrest last week. Let's head to Claire Alfrey, who is on your side with what we can expect to see at the event going on later this morning. Good morning.
That's right, Brody. Good morning. And we're going to hear from Erica McGriff's point of view after this video of JSO body camera footage was released showing her getting arrested outside of Idea Bassett Charter School last Tuesday, and what Ben Crump and his team have found so far in their investigation. In a news conference Friday, Sheriff TK Waters said McGriff has a history of traffic offenses, and while driving with a revoked license, she illegally parked her running car at an intersection near the school and left it unattended. Attorney Crump is getting involved to hold.
See, black people, man, you can't do stupid stuff to bring attention to yourself. You don't have a driver license, then you leave your car unattended and it's running. And it's like you're just bringing attention to yourself. So listen, man, I do hold black people accountable when they do foolish things. I do.
Hold the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office accountable after excessive use of force was used on McGriff, who he says did not have a weapon on her or pose any deadly threats.
Look, she's squabbing with this fool.
Sheriff
Look.
TK Waters
And look, he throwing
mentioned
punches. Oh, he didn't have to do that, though. He didn't have to do that. She's sitting out there scrapping with the police. Instead of her saying, all right, you know what? It is what it is. She said, I'm going to fight the police. Listen, homie, when you don't have a driver license, you need to play by the rules. If you're driving with a suspended driver license, you need to play by all of the rules. You can't afford to bring attention to yourself.
After excessive use of force was used on McGriff, who he says did not have a weapon on her or pose any deadly threats. Sheriff TK Waters mentioned Officer Randy Holton went to have a conversation.
Look, he's scrapping with her.
Conversation with her, and that's when the sheriff.
Look, and he pulling her hair. Yeah, man, like I said, bro.
Biting his arm. Attorneys Crump's investigation included how McGriff says, quote, I can't breathe or help more than 20 times while being thrown down to the ground.
She punched me and she bit me.
We send it to our experts, our use of force experts, to look at everything that he does in that process, and he followed the rules.
Listen, man, if you don't have driver license, if you don't have a driver license, you need to be low key. You need to obey all laws. Now, the officer did punch her. He did pull her hair. So it got ugly. Things got down and dirty. Hit the like button and support the show, family. Like I said, man.
We follow the laws.
And McGriff is facing 3 third-degree felony charges after being taken to jail due to the incident on the north side. But today,
Now, she could have got off with a simple ticket. Instead of her just accepting the ticket and complying, she turned this whole thing into a felony. Now, I wonder what's going to happen to the officer because he was punching her. He was fighting this woman. He was throwing hands with this woman, right? This is crazy. How come you didn't listen? He could have just maced her or tased her. To sit up there and throw punches with this woman, I would have just maced her or tased her. Like, listen, I'm not gonna physically assault the woman because they're gonna make it worse than what it is. So I would have just maced her. If she was trying to attack me, I would have just maced her or tased her. But to sit up there and throw punches with her, nah, I wouldn't have did that.
We will stream press conference at the Sanctuary Mount Calvary Church, which starts at 11:15 later this morning. I'll be back to you.
We're about to begin the press conference this morning. Thank you for the attendance.
Present with us, the women who were arrested on October 7th. We have Erica McGriff.
All right, guys, man, I think I'm gonna do a separate show about this Erica McGriff. You know, who knows, man? You know, hopefully they don't demonetize the video. I didn't really show too much, but it's like if it's already on Fox News, why are you mad at me for showing something that the news station posted on social media? So don't punish me for showing my people a glimpse of what took place. If you want to demonetize my video, you need to demonetize the video that the news station posted. The news station posted this on social media. The news station posted this on YouTube. So if they can post it and get ad revenue, I should be able to post it and get ad revenue as well. Don't be a hypocrite. All I'm doing is posting what the news already posted. It's not like I'm showing you guys something that the news haven't already showed people. But anyway, man, I'm going to get up out of here, man. Make sure that you guys bless the like button. I've been here for 2 hours. That's long enough. I've been here long enough. Got to get up out of here, yo, guys. Shout out to Freeman for the super chat. And yeah, man, if you guys like content like this, make sure that you put some love and respect on it. Support the channel, support the show, especially when I come through dropping this game. You know, let's get it.